Welcome to how to hand feed wrens and other insect-eating birds. This is the 7th video in the Bird in the Hand video series. And in this video you will learn a quick and easy technique to teach your insect-eating birds to feed out of your bare hand. If you are lucky enough to have any bluebirds in your area, this is another popular insect-eating bird that you should be able to train to feed out of your hand using this technique. To teach the bird to hand feed, I will be using mealworms. You can usually find mealworms at pet stores and some bait shops, or you can order them over the internet. To order them with your computer, just get online and go to google.com and type mealworms into the search box. This search will turn up lots of places where you can purchase mealworms and have them delivered right to your door. Mealworms are the larval stage of the darkling beetle and will eventually grow into beetles. To keep them in this larval stage for as long as possible, all you have to do is store them in your refrigerator. They will keep in your refrigerator for several months. The best way to attract a bird into the yard and get it to use your feeder on a regular basis is to put up bird houses and get the bird to actually nest in your yard. I've put up several bird houses around my yard that the house wrens have been using over the years. They will nest in about any type of house, but you will need one with an entrance hole that is 1.5 inches in diameter. This is large enough for the wrens to easily get in and out of, but small enough to keep sparrows and other larger birds out. Once you get a bird nesting in your yard, it will be fairly easy to get it to use your feeder on a regular basis. For not only will it have to eat, but soon it will also have plenty of other hungry mouths to feed. This added pressure it will have to feed all those hungry baby birds will make it more than willing to use your feeder and later to feed out of your hand. The more a bird is using your feeder, the quicker you will be able to teach it to hand feed. A bird that you only see at your feeder several times a day will be very difficult, if not impossible, to hand feed. But one that you see continually at your feeder will give you a lot more opportunities to teach it to hand feed. Now that you have birds nesting in your yard, the next thing that you will have to do is put a chair and a feeder about 8 or 10 feet from the birdhouse. This is far enough away that you won't overly alarm the parent birds as they go in and out of the birdhouse to feed the babies. I already have a bench close to where my feeder is hanging, so this is what I will use, but any kind of lawn chair will work. To train the bird, the feeder will have to be hanging low next to the chair. If you don't have a pole to hang your feeder on, you can place a shovel next to the chair. To hang the feeder, I will use a piece of duct tape and fasten a coat hanger near the top of the shovel. To make a simple feeder, I will cut the bottom off of a plastic 2-liter bottle. A small container such as a tuna can or plastic margarine container will also work well. A small container like this works well because it's too small for larger birds to easily land on and get to worms before the wrens have a chance to find them. They also have slick sides so that the worms can't crawl out. Next, I will carefully poke 4 holes on opposite sides of the container. Now I will use 2 pieces of wire to make a hanger for the feeder. You could also use twine. I will take one end of the wire and fasten it through one of the holes, then fasten the other end of the wire through the opposite hole. Now I will do the same thing with the other wire. Now I will hang the feeder on the hook of the clothes hanger and add 4 or 5 mealworms to the container. Now I will leave the area and give the wren a chance to find the worms. She will perch on the end of the shovel a few times and check out the feeder from a distance before moving in to get a worm. With a little practice, she will be pretty good at using the swinging feeder. I tried setting a container of worms on top of a fence post, but the blue jays and cardinals would land on the post and quickly eat all the worms. Now, while the wren is getting used to feeding out of the feeder, I will continue to the next step. In this step, I will make a simple dummy that I will sit in the chair to do all the work of quickly teaching the bird to hand feed. Once the bird is used to feeding out of the dummy's hand, all I'll have to do is change places. In order not to alarm the birds when we switch places, we will have to resemble the dummy as much as possible. To do this, we will need 2 sets of matching clothes, one set to dress the dummy and one set for ourselves to wear. To dress the dummy, an old pair of blue jeans will work well for the lower half of the dummy, and for the upper half, a jacket or a hooded sweatshirt works well. We'll also need a hat for the top of the dummy to help conceal our facial features. The detail on our faces, especially our eyes, will be the main difference between us and the dummy, and it's a difference the birds will notice. We will also be adding strips of fiberglass screen material to the hat to help hide our facial features. We'll need 2 pairs of matching gloves like these inexpensive jersey work gloves. We'll need a few feet of twine, rope, or wire. We'll need an old broom or mop. And we'll need some plastic sheeting to stuff the pants and shirt with. You can get cheap plastic sheeting at hardware stores and garden centers. And we'll need a coat hanger. And we'll need a small roll of fiberglass screen material. This is the material that's used to repair the screens and windows and doors, and you can find it in hardware stores or department stores such as Walmart or Kmart. First, we'll take some twine and tie off the ends of the shirt sleeves and the ends of the pant legs so that we can stuff them with the plastic sheeting. Now we'll cut off some plastic and pack each pant leg. Just cut off enough to kind of fill out each pant leg, and then we'll cut off some to fill in the seat of the pants. One more piece ought to do it. Okay, now that we've got the pants filled up, we'll cut off a piece of twine and put through the belt loops and pull it tight and tie it on the end. And we'll poke that plastic inside. Now just pull it tight, tie it off. Trim the excess twine. Okay, that completes the lower half of the dummy. Now we'll move on to the upper half. Now we'll cut some plastic and pack the arms of our jacket or shirt. Okay, now you want to button up your shirt or zip up your jacket. Now we'll take our broom handle or mop handle, whichever you have, and run it down through the bottom of the jacket, up through the top and out the bottom. Now we'll take another piece of twine, wrap it around the bottom of the jacket or shirt and tie it off so that it's snug against the broom handle. That way when we fill it with plastic, that'll hold the plastic in. Now we'll cut some plastic and stuff the inside of the jacket. That's a bigger area, so we'll start out with a bigger piece of plastic. Cut a piece and stuff it over on the
the right side, then we'll cut a piece and stuff it over on the left side of the jacket. Okay, now that the shirt or your jacket is stuck, we'll just insert a coat hanger inside, right down in the shoulders. Pull the coat hanger up on top of the broom, that'll hold it in place. Then we'll just wrap one more piece of twine around the neck of your shirt or jacket, pull it kind of snug, and that'll hold that in place.
Our next step will be to tie a glove onto the end of each arm of the dummy. Next, we will get the hat ready to put on the dummy's head. To the hat, we're going to add some of our fiberglass screen material. We will cut a strip off the roll about 8 inches wide and start about halfway around the hat on one side and staple it to the brim of the hat until we get about halfway around the other side. This makes a veil for the hat that's easy to see through, but helps hide our facial features, which in turn will allow the birds to drop their guard a lot quicker and come in close to hand feed as quickly as possible. Now that the dummy is finished, our next step will be to add the lower half of the dummy to the chair and let the bird make a few visits to get used to this new addition. Next, we can add the upper half of the dummy. The wren is a little cautious this time before going after a worm. After a few visits, the wren is getting used to the dummy, so I can add the hat. Once again, the wren proceeds with caution before going after a worm. Now that the wren is getting used to seeing the hat, I will move the wren closer to the dummy's hand by placing the feeder in the dummy's lap. Now it's time to actually trade places with the dummy. I will also put the mealworms in my hand. After several minutes, the wren gets up enough nerve to crawl up my leg and cautiously checks me over. After several more minutes, she comes back to finally get a worm. After a couple more visits, I decide to move to the next step, which is to cut the fingers off of the glove and let her start getting used to my bare hand. After several minutes, she comes in to take a quick look. She finally gets up enough nerve to come in and get a worm. I'll let her make several more visits to get used to my fingers, then I can go ahead and take off the glove. Once again, she will be cautious at first. After several visits, it's time to take off the jacket and the other glove. She's not so cautious this time and comes right up and gets a worm. Now I can go ahead and take off the hat. Now I try elevating my hand just to see how far she'll go to get a worm. Even with my hand at eye level, she doesn't hesitate. Even standing up and walking around the yard, she will follow me to get a worm. She immediately began taking worms out of my wife's hand also. Once your bird is trained, anyone else can take your place in the yard and also enjoy hand feeding your bird. All I had to do was whistle to get her attention, and she would even come right to my bedroom window to get a worm. That just about wraps up this video on hand feeding wrens and other insect eating birds. So go hang some birdhouses around your yard and get some wrens nesting and using a feeder on a regular basis, and soon you, your family and friends will all be enjoying the thrills and excitement of hand feeding your own backyard birds.